Okay. Just so you know, we're live streaming today, so put on your best smile. This is Knox County Commissioners Thursday session, January 30th, 2025. We have with us Sheriff Dan Wackeser and Chief Rich Miller with us. Cheryl Splain is also in the room, Andrew Champlin, Penny Doyle, Jason Booth, and the three commissioners, and we welcome all those that are joining us live or on Memorex mode. So we call this meeting to order, and we are going to start out not with you, but we're going to sign the bills so we can go ahead and get those down to the auditor's office so that your people can get paid and other people can get paid. So Jason, if you'll pass that down for us to do that, and we'll take care of that, and then Dan will let you take it from there. Okay. So give us like 2 or 3 minutes. Because one of the things that people may not realize is every time we're in session, we review all the bills that have come into the auditor's office. We look at that from different departments. And if we have any questions, we have some research done. A lot of them is standard invoices that we get. And the people who provide services to Knox County like to have their money in a timely fashion. So Tuesdays and Thursdays is when we do that. So are there any other additions there?
That's it. That's it, Commissioner. We're ready to roll.
Sheriff, we're glad to have you here, and so go ahead and give us your reports.
So administration wise at the sheriff's office is going to be Deputy Chief Richard Miller, Major Mark Perkins, Captain Scott McKnight. We are learning a lot every day, and I believe after a few weeks we'll be a lot more efficient at what we're doing. So currently in the jail, we have 18 females, 51 males. We have one in Twin Valley and 4 waiting beds for evaluations and whatever. So
could you talk about what Twin Valley is in case people are?
It's a mental health facility that helps with inmates that need some mental health issues taken care of.
Yes,
which is better than for them to be in the jail.
good.
Currently we're down 2 staff in the jail. We're interviewing a couple applicants for that position.
Sheriff, is that replacement of staff or is that new hire? The two.
Gonna be too higher. Yeah.
But are they?
Yeah, they're gonna be
replacing people.
Yeah, we're gonna be
It's
replacing.
not a new slot.
No.
So they're already in the budget.
Yeah, they're already in the budget.
Okay.
Which, that's gonna be for another discussion, what happened on that, so. We're being updated on the needs of equipment in the jail, which is kitchen appliances and that type of stuff. I believe there's something going on with maybe one of the dryers or something, so, getting some prices on that.
Yeah, we know the jail has been an issue over the years where inmates were actually taking parts of beds and stuff like that and digging holes in the walls and just trying to put linens down the toilets and breaking toilets. So yeah, the inmates are very creative in finding ways to break stuff.
And we have some plans on working on that problem. So, but we gotta get our feet under the ground on some other stuff before we jump into some of those issues there, so. Patrol.
Sorry, John.
Yeah, sorry.
So on the kitchen, you're working with Todd then, on our maintenance guys about this stuff? And
Yes, yeah.
And give us the list.
I have to admit, those guys are great. They come in and they fix a lot of issues. We found out that one of our rooms didn't have heat, and as far as I know, they took care of that and got that all fixed up and whatever. So yeah, those guys
And Sheriff and I talked that we are aware of the compliance. That was a budget issue that came up last year, was that Lieutenant Will Schaefer had mentioned that, you know, a lot of the appliances, they're original to the jail.
20 years
Built.
then.
So we've replaced the dishwasher out there, but the other appliances are in need. So I've asked them, to get a list of pricing, and we've kind of put that on a future capital list so we can figure out how to replace all of those items. And there's other things out there. I think the sheriff and I talked about, painting, some flooring, all of that. We do have that on potential capital project list, because a lot of that is original to when it was built, and things are time to be updated. So we have a plan for a lot of that. We're just waiting on some pricing and then bring that to you and go from there.
So, as far as, daily patrol, we need to hire 3 deputies, and these are budgeted positions. We're gonna be promoting a couple to detectives positions in the next couple weeks. We're in the process of trying to get a couple deputies down to Centerburg. One of the day shift deputy that works Centerburg, he'll be retiring end of February. So, and then we got one that's off on military leave. So we're gonna probably try to fill his spot down there for the time being for night shifts, so that they have 2 units if we can, if at all possible.
Could you, again, for people who are watching, talk a little bit about why we're even down in Centerburg and what patrol does?
Yes, so Centerburg is contracted with the sheriff's office for 2 deputies, day shift and night shift. And so they pay us a certain amount to have 2 deputies that are assigned to the village of Centerburg.
And we have one in Gambier. They only still have one, correct, Sheriff?
Yep, one in Gambier.
Okay, good.
So the 2 positions in the detective bureau is children's services investigator that we're hoping to fill next week, and our drug detective or investigator. So hopefully we'll have those 2 positions filled next week, which will open up positions in the patrol unit. We have two individuals that are going to be starting in the academy that are employed as civilians. But it'll be probably 9 months if they pass the state test before we'll be able to put them on the road. Got one in FTO training that he won't be able to be turned loose for another 2.5 months.
So you want to explain what FTO is? For
Yeah,
those who may not know the initials.
Yeah, it's a FTO is field training position. So they're assigned to a field training officer for up to 3 months to learn the ropes, paperwork, and locations in the county. And
So it's like on the job training
on
here.
the job training, yeah. And so it's gonna take a few months to get all these positions filled, so we'll try to do that as quick as possible so we don't have as much overtime. And pretty much, well, I guess we had 3 cruisers that are at pars being upfitted. Hopefully they'll be completed by the end of February. We've got 2 cars that are broke down right now. So things are a little tight on vehicles at the sheriff's office right now. So, and my understanding is our patrol boat, the repairs are done on that, and we'll be picking that up today and bringing it back to the office. And everything else I have is probably gonna be executive.
Yeah, except for we checked with Chip to see about talking about our securing our evidence room. Can't do that in the executive session, but what you're gonna do, that evidence room needs some upgrades, and
It
so we'll
does.
need to do an evaluation as to what we need to do. Cause Chip had indicated that some of that information has to be there forever. That we can't purge some things because of if it's connected to a rape case or murder case, that stuff has to stay intact and so on the security of that area. Will be something that you'll be working with Jason and coming up with some ideas as to what's gonna be our best scenario. for that.
My visit, has the key situation been starting to get resolved? Sheriff?
Yeah, we're meeting with, I forgot his name,
Todd.
Todd, tomorrow at 10 o'clock
Yeah,
about
yeah.
the key. And then obviously, once we get everything rekeyed, we'll have a pretty secure retention on who has keys and who doesn't.
Yeah.
And I think Commissioner on that evidence area and sheriff has some ideas, so at that point, when we can get a contractor there to look at some of those ideas, and then I can report back with some cost on what that would be. So we'll get something set up to go out on site, look at it,
Yep,
need
that'd be
some
good.
contractors there and get us some ideas.
Sounds good.
So then I believe we're ready to go into executive session, so I would need to have a motion to go into executive session to talk about matters of personnel.
I make a motion.
I second,
I'll call the roll. Commissioner Lester,
yes.
Commissioner Casey,
Yes.
Commissioner Person.
Yes, so we will go into executive session like 10 on Thursday, and then so the camera will be on pause until we come out of the executive session, which we don't know when that will be. We're scheduled for our next guest at 11 o'clock. But if we come out of executive session before then, we will start back in at that point. So we are now will be entering the executive session.
Barry.
Nice to see
Dave
you.
Whitehouse, nice to meet you. Hey, Drivers.
You are.
Very lucky.
Brandon Trepper, nice to meet you.
Okay, but what, how do you pronounce your last?
Trepper.
Shrek. Okay.
Hi, nice to meet you, I'm Brandon.
Back up and running again there. Okay, good. Just so you know, you're on TV.
Questions or?
The beginning of paving season is May.
May, yeah, thereabouts. We're gonna try to get it out early enough that we're one of the first projects that people are seeing.
This is 2026.
2026,
Okay.
yeah, so it was part of the appropriations for 26, 27. So we were hoping to get it done sooner rather than later, because it really is, the path is delaminating in certain areas that are in the shade between Mount Vernon and Camp here, so.
And I assume that Cameron Keaton, the Knox County engineer, is helping you with the specs.
Yes, he is. They're actually doing the engineering and they're gonna be the project leads. This is a local let, so we're doing it with local resources rather than ODOT resources, which allows us to move faster and save money, so.
Right.
We're excited about that, and Randy would be here to cheerlead if he could. Randy Cronk is the president of the Kokosin Gap Trail Board, was instrumental in getting that grant. The Midway Station project in Centerburg is still in process. That is the building of a Gambier style depot with restrooms and maps that they would like to put near Clayton Street in Centerburg. It's been in process for some time. It seems to be moving from one side of the path to the other across Clayton Street. I don't have a firm update for where it will finally land, but hopefully it will land soon because both the county commissioners and the Knox County Foundation have a financial interest in getting this project done. Also on the Heart of Ohio Trail news, we were gifted a small parcel off of Updike Road on the Heart of Ohio Trail. It's a nice little triangle of property that has a drinking fountain that Delco installed and a bench, and we'll do some nice perennial wildflower plantings there. It's just one more spot for people to stop and get a drink and take a rest on the Heart of Ohio Trail. Actually, let me take a step back to the Midway Station project. That's also associated with the fence. So that there where the Heart of Ohio Trail passes through Centerburg, there's Kolachi's restaurant and Pizzaburg restaurant right across a parking lot from the Heart of Ohio Trail at the intersection of the trail and Clayton Street. The private property extends about halfway across that parking lot, and then the county commissioner's property goes the right of way for the path. For years and years, people have gone down the road, I can't remember, west of Clayton Street, and they park there to use the path. They park there to go to the restaurants. But the issue is that they're parking on county commissioner's property, and the attempts to get an easement from the two property owners, the folks who own the building and the folks who own the grain elevator. Nobody wants to do an easement, which is the easy, painless thing for everybody to do to avoid liability. So a proposal that has been brought up is to build a fence there. That the county prosecutor thought that was a good solution to, if we were to want to delineate public from private property, the defense does a pretty good job at that. There have been a number of concerns expressed about this, not the least of which is Centerburg is wanting to be a trail town, and by building a fence between the trail and the town, you're not necessarily sending that message. And the issue extends about 1,000 feet from Clayton all the way down to where the neighbor has placed a building on your property.
Yes.
If there were holes in the fence or gates in the fence, and we could put welcoming signage up there to say, come on, go to Pizzaburg, go to Kolachi's, I think that would be one thing. But my understanding is that for this to do what it's intended to do, there shouldn't be gates. I just want to be crystal clear where the commissioners stand on this. I mean, my personal opinion is I would rather not put a fence there without gates.
Are we thinking about that because of liability?
It's a liability issue. And
Dave, I'm wondering if maybe it would be beneficial for us to bring the commissioners down and see this, so they could lay eyes on the area, since they maybe are not familiar, and this has been going on for a long time.
3 years.
Before my
Maybe
time.
to get eyes on it and let them look at it, see the site.
I think that would be valuable, and I would really appreciate that personally for you guys to take a look. I'll work with Penny to schedule a time that we can do
Your
that.
personal thoughts on it are to,
I feel like this is turned into something of a competition between two interest groups, and I feel like this is sort of lobbing a cannonball when you might sit down and have a conversation and revisit the easement issue, being really, really clear in non-legalese what the implications of that are for the landowners. That it's scary language when you look at it on a document, but realistically, these access easements happen all the time, and I've never heard of an instance where somebody lost by one.
So the easement situation is by the private property owner.
That's correct.
Want to give you-
Yeah, and it's literally to cross about 20 feet of ground where they come off the end of the public road. They cross one of two private properties to get to the public property. It's confusing that this has become such a contentious issue, but the feedback that I've received, telephone, mostly telephone, has not been favorable to this. I just want to be
Not favorable to the easement.
to the fence.
Okay.
Dave,
Yeah.
wasn't there some issues with the property owners parking, like, was it equipment or vehicles or things up near the trail on the county property?
Yeah,
As
there's,
well as they put their building on on county land and.
yeah,
That was the driver of some of this initially,
that,
right?
the neighbor takes some liberties with where they stack pallets, where they park semi-trailers. Generally, they tend to straddle the boundary between the commissioner's property and their private property. A couple times a year, they do move heavy equipment in there when they're, I presume, when they're putting grain in or taking grain out of the elevator there. I feel like the word liability, which is not that that it doesn't exist theoretically, but I think that word came out of the gate pretty fast and it turned some people off, and I would value getting down there and putting eyes on it.
Is there any trade-off that can be done since they're wanting, or they have a building on our property and we want some of their property for an easement?
And we wouldn't even own their property, but we were just getting legal permission to invite people to cross it, to park. That's it. I mean, they retain ownership of the property. I mean, one thought I had, and I'm way into Chip's territory now, would be to see if we could revisit it on, a trial basis. Like, okay, you don't want a perpetual easement. How about a 1-year legal agreement that grants public access? See what that looks like. If you're okay with it, maybe we can talk about extending it. If you're not, then we'll go back to fence discussion. But again, that's
I think
County
what
prosecutor.
Cindy was trying to say is since they are actually built on our property without permission, sounds like. Is there a way to leverage that where, we want the easement because you're actually on our property?
If we get a survey done, I think that would be an
Right.
avenue that we could take.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the survey's been done and I think Chip has been trying to go through the process without bringing litigation against the property owner to make it more contentious.
And this goes back even to your predecessor.
Oh, yeah.
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 Yeah, that this.
If they're doing that and we need this, it seemed like we could come to some type of,
For logical people, yes.
It would seem so.
otherwise they'll have to move their building, they'll have to do certain things. Maybe we could have some type of amiable working relationship. But if we come down there, I think we should have kolaches.
Absolutely, absolutely. You can't park there and not have kolaches. Well, while we're on the hoot, one other topic that has probably come up in the past and it's come up again is the idea of putting a welcome to Knox County sign of some description on the Heart of Ohio Trail Bridge that crosses 36.
I thought the state said we couldn't do that.
That's my understanding too. Other people have said, go back to the state and ask again.
Yeah, they're
But
everywhere else, right?
Yeah.
they're everywhere else. And
They have it down at Easton on 71 and other places.
But I wouldn't want to do that if that is something that doesn't interest you. If a welcome sign seems like a good idea, I think it does. Okay, I will revisit
Yeah,
that one.
because we put some of those signs on the bike path so that they would know what townships they were for emergency issues. So, but yeah, to make it, and you do have the bridge there on 36 before you come into Centerburg. It's be a perfect place for that. So,
Yeah. Okay, well, see if we can't.
besides, that bridge is really ugly. It's kind of rusty looking, so it would dress it up.
Yeah, well, let's try to dress it up. We discussed, I think this probably goes back 6 months rather than 3, the removal of some walnut trees that had some value and also tended to be dropping nuts that were obstructions on the path. That has been done. So if it should come to the commissioner's attention that, hey, what's going on the Heart of Ohio Trail between the county line and Huffman Road, that work has been executed. Any questions about multi-use trails? Okay. The scenic rivers. So this is a broken record for Bill, but we've been having issues since I started and before dealing with obstructions in the scenic river, which is also a scenic water trail. Effectively, we're inviting people here to recreate in our scenic rivers, but we don't really have the resources to remove dangerous obstructions when trees fall across them. There's the issue of it's private property. And so at any point, a private property owner can say, no, you can't do that. And it's also expensive work or dangerous work that our staff is generally not up to. So I've been advocating with the Ohio Department of Natural Resources for the creation of a fund that would support communities that want to make the water trails designated by the state safe for visitors. That has not progressed past the director of the Scenic Rivers program, to my knowledge, but they were sympathetic to it. But for now, the park district policy is to not address any snags that aren't on our property. So we do own 12 landings. If a tree on one of our landings falls, we'll do what a responsible landowner would do. But we're not seeking permission to cross into private property to spend taxpayer dollar to do this work.
So it sounds like that's something we should talk to Brenner, Lear and Heiner about. Because if we're gonna have that scenic river designation, the state needs to step up to the plate to make sure that the rivers are safe to navigate.
I couldn't agree more. And this is also not a unique to Knox County situation.
Yeah.
This must be happening in every state scenic river and waterway. So
Dave, we had one when Lori was here, there was one that had gone down. I think you were here, Bill, and it was a dangerous area. The commissioners agreed to pay, and I think we had, was it River Ranger?
the river rangers.
River Rangers came in and took care of it, but kind of after that, the commissioner said, you know, we're not doing this anymore because we don't want to set a precedent that the
It's-
county is gonna
yeah.
take care of a scenic river because it's not our
It's
property.
it generally a single stem incident. It's probably going to run you $5,000
That's what we pay.
and
Yeah.
more, and it goes up from there.
But yeah, we didn't want to get where, the river's the county's problem. Like, we're not gonna go down that rabbit hole. So-
Similar at the park
After
district,
that, yeah.
right? I've done one in my time here and they did excellent work, but because of scenic river regulations that stipulate that you have to remove all of the material that was next to the river from the river if it falls into the river, we did more damage to the bank than good by removing that material, which is ecologically better off in the river anyways. It creates habitat for fish. So we took away fish habitat that was 2 feet away from the river, but it fell in the river. So when people call to report the strainers, I generally mention that they should contact the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and advocate for funding to support communities to do the work.
Yeah.
We don't mind doing the work. We just don't have the money to do it. Good news from the bad news is that all of the Coshocton County permits for our Spurgeon Landing have been granted. So we'll be able to get to work this spring on opening up a third Knox County Park District landing on the Mohican State Scenic River. Waiting on the Army Corps, but once that's cleared, we'll get to work on that.
Well, that may be a 5-year process right there.
It generally takes a few phone calls. And this is not a complicated permit. This is one where generally they issue essentially a waiver letter that says this is pretty basic work. Just for your knowledge, we are looking to pursue one more landing on the Kokosing State Scenic River. There's the longest stretch without a landing is east of Gambier. So we've engaged with a landowner there to see if we might negotiate one more access spot, just to let people who don't want to go on a pretty long trip, let those folks see a section of the river that they probably wouldn't otherwise. Anything on rivers or?
What was it? Would that be an easement type scenario?
We're early enough in the negotiations that it could likely it will go in the direction of a longer term lease or a fee simple purchase of 2/10 of an acre. It's right on the river, so it's not land that can really be used for agriculture.
And there's a road that people will have to get off.
Yeah, it's immediately adjacent to Kilduff Road,
Okay.
and it's being used by people to that end already. So
already,
the
yeah.
landowner understands that this might be a way to actually improve people's behavior by giving them access in a way that isn't trespassing. In news that's been worked on for, I think, 3 decades, around 3 decades is how old the files are. Thanks to our state elected representatives, they managed to get the transfer of 165 acres of old growth forest from the Mount Vernon Developmental Center to the Knox County Parks. This was how House Bill 497 that Governor DeWine has signed into law. So we're going to start the process of working with the Department of Administrative Services and the Department of Developmental Disabilities to execute that transfer. And it is actually, it's specified in the law that it is to be a public park, and that part of the park needs to be designed in such a way to allow access for people with disabilities. So
Is that the property that the wooded area behind the developmental center that runs to the fairgrounds pretty much?
this
Not to
runs,
the fairgrounds.
Not, but
it,
Yeah.
yeah.
Upper Gilchrist
Upper
Road.
Yeah, between Vernon View and Upper Gilchrist,
Right.
it's an absolutely gorgeous forest.
Yeah.
Probably the oldest trees in Knox County are on that property. So this has been, some people have been advocating for this well before I came along. So there are probably 30 people in that 30 years that deserve more credit than me, but I'll take a little bit of
Do
it.
they know what the age of those trees would be then, when they say the oldest trees in Knox County?
Oh, they're probably over 200 years, some of them.
Yes, some of them, yes. Yeah,
So-
it supposedly is one of the few forests in Ohio left that has not been touched since we've been, state of Ohio's been developed.
It's pretty special. So I think we will absolutely get some kind of a
Mhm.
conservation protection on it, so that if the park district should ever disappear, that the trees will still be protected.
So have you been talking to the developmental center as to fencing and things of that nature? Because I know that was part of our original discussion.
Yeah, Bill, I'm trying to get those conversations started. I think they must be quite busy right now because I haven't had a lot of luck. But that, the two angles I want to pursue are, the Department of Administrative Services is necessary to execute the transfer, but I'm a little more concerned about our local Mount Vernon Developmental Center staff. And so I really want to engage them, particularly with the design features of whatever we do for their clients. Neither Brandon or I have any kind of expertise in designing handicap accessible facilities. They do. So we really want to make this partnership with DOD.
There already is a path at the back entrance into that had been cleared out for their residents. So, that part's already been, started anyway.
Great. No, it was the Eagle Scout project. Yeah, there's a
Yes,
nice 1 mile in there. The Wolf Run Regional Park was extended by, was it 60 odd acres, Brandon?
65, I believe.
65. So that extends Wolf Run Park out to Coshocton Road. So we have an access point now off of Coshocton Road that is favored by visitors from Apple Valley. It allows them to get into the park from the north without going all the way around. We'll be having an official ribbon cutting on that in June, which will coincide with Kenyon College and the Philander Chase Conservancy acquired the 100. It's a pretty big property to the south of Wolf Run Park. So we'll do a joint ribbon cutting on those two properties, and that will then have a really nice 1,100 acre corridor that runs from Coshocton Road all the way past Gambier, south of the Kokosing. So that'll be nice resource for the community to have around 25 miles of publicly accessible trails. So really looking forward to seeing that.
So with that section on Coshocton Road, it's 55 mile per hour. And right where you're in, have you talked to state of ODOT about signage, slow down, park entrance?
We haven't gotten a lot of traction on changing the speed limit, but in terms of getting a park access sign is what we're looking at now.
Okay.
Because
Well, people pulling in, it's tough to get even out of the cemetery up there.
if it's
Because of people flying through there, so,
coming to work or going home from work,
well,
Is-
308.
yeah, it's not the time you want to be trying to use that access,
Yeah.
so. Look, I covered the last point there, or no, I'm further down. AEP, yes, we're still in the saga of AEP at Honey Run Highlands Park. They're replacing 2 towers on the park. There was an issue with the concrete pad on one of those 2 towers. So they're gonna have to come in and do some work on that pad before they can sign off on that tower. So we'll be about a year off schedule. The park is still open, but we got a couple trails that are effectively closed. They tell us that they'll be back in the spring, at which point they'll fix the concrete slab. They'll remove the timber mats and then they will reseed the destroyed landscape with a very nice prairie seed mixture of our designation. Okay, and on to everybody's favorite administration. Fire and Ice, the program at the Honey Run Waterfall, we were able to bring back in 2024. I feel like it was a great success, and there are also some lessons learned that I think will make it even better next year. The thing I'd like to stress about that event is the just outstanding work that the volunteers put into it, and especially the folks at the Millwood Church of Christ were absolutely instrumental in making it as nice as it was. What we had 800. How many of those how many of the luminaries did we have?
700.
700 paper bags, 700 candles, and about a dozen volunteers got all of that done in a kind of a shocking fast amount of time. So it was great to work with those folks.
Well, I know that Knox County Transit did 471 trips for that event.
Yeah, we figure probably 800 to 900 people.
Yeah.
Which is not a record, but one of the lessons learned is we need bigger shuttles and more shuttles. We like to say that people got to anticipate the experience for maybe a little bit longer than they would like. This is a small one, but I think it's worth noting because if it's successful, we hope to expand it. We're doing a pilot passport to the parks program, which is right now we're working with some, scouts. The idea is encouraging people to get outside and enjoy different trails on different parks, get some exercise, and get your passport stamped at the end of the season, and we'll have a little knick-knack. Brandon is putting together one program a month for the kids. I'll take it over to you, Brandon, for
Yeah, so this past month we did wildlife tracks. So luckily it snowed this past Saturday or Friday night, but Saturday took a group of about 20 scouts out, did some tracking, kind of explained what to look for, why you look for it. Next month, we're going to be doing a little bit of map orienteering. They were interested in doing some geocaching, and we have some geocaches over at Wolf Run Park. So we'll take them out on a hike and go locate a geocache and do a little bit of map work with them. Very supportive. They were excited, so makes it easy when they're excited.
Yes.
And if it seems like it's going to work. My hope is that we might be able to roll this out to the schools next year and see if anybody at the schools want to put together groups. I don't know whether we'll make it competitive or not. Probably we will, but
Well, I know some of the middle school classes have science projects where they go down the river and stuff like that. So
yeah,
that would be great for them.
so far so good. We have moved out of our dirt floored shack on Upper Gilcrest Road, and we're renting an operations facility off of Kenny Road for this year. So far so good. But if anybody's curious where the park district went, we've located our operations folks in a heated facility off of Kenny Road, which they've been smiling for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Normally they're very grumpy in the wintertime. They're quite happy to be in that facility. We submitted a grant application earlier this month for data loggers for the multi-use trails. Usage data tends to be pretty handy when you're looking for state and federal money to extend these networks. So there was a shovel-ready project call for applications, and these loggers have been deployed in the county before. We'd like to get permanent installations on each end of the county and on either side of the incorporated areas and villages. So we're able to paint a better picture of just how many people are using the paths and how.
So when you say logger, is that like a trail cam?
It's actually, it's a device that you have to cut a strip out of the path and put it in, but it's able to detect whether somebody's walking, running, or on a bicycle, which direction they're moving. So it's
Cell phones out of it.
the chamber, or no, Convention and Visitors Bureau have the placer. That one does the cell. This one does not work with cell phones. The only thing it does online is that you can access it remotely to get the data. But type of activity and direction of activity is what it gives you. No social security numbers. And I'll keep you all posted on whether or not we get that. And also the final thing which concerns the commissioners, because it is on your property as well, is we put an application in for materials for a program / picnic shelter at Thayer Ridge. We did that in partnership with the Ohio Horsemen's Council. But this would be something that would be available for anybody to use at any time. It would be a place that Brandon can have cover for programs if he chooses. Right now, if we have a program out there, it's a standing room only. And if it rains, it's pretty well shot. So it was through the Knox County Foundation. It was one of their smaller grants, and the majority of the work will be done by volunteers if we're awarded that money.
So when you said Thayer Ridge, and you mentioned horses, so I'm thinking horses left side, Thayer Ridge on the right side.
Yes, so this is actually being done by the Horsemen's Council, which is, there is some overlap with the horse park, but
Okay.
it's not the same group.
Okay.
And the reason we're working with them is they're our most active volunteers out there. They put in 100+ hours of work every year maintaining trails and to.
Actually forgot about that little park on Thayer Road on the right.
Yeah.
You're going up to the dome,
So
actually.
Yeah.
people still doing the frisbee out there? Is that still active?
We are maintaining the disc golf course at Thayer Ridge Park. Brandon has very nice signs made. I'd be lying if I said there was a constant stream of people coming up from Delaware County to play disc golf, but we hope that in the future, the word will get out about disc golf and more people will avail themselves of that facility.
Maybe have a tournament.
A tournament? We could have a tournament.
I used to play that.
Well, come on out. We'll play around with you.
Well, Dave, Brandon, thank you.
Thank you.
For coming and sharing
Thank
with
you.
us.
Thank you all.
good
Thank you
information.
very much.
Absolutely. Nice to see everybody.
Thank you.
See you too.
You'll have Jeff come in.
Say the word.
He was out
Just to clarify, that's Wally's bench, right? That area,
Yes.
yeah, okay, I thought it was.
Yeah. That was a nice little gift.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Thank you.
Nice to
Thank
see
you,
you.
Brandon.
Thank you. Yeah, let's play disc golf.
No. Just out in the yard, but not with the actual chains and stuff. Good morning, Jeff.
Morning, almost afternoon.
Yes. Well, we saved the best for last, maybe, is that what depends on, whether you're gonna give us a report about RSV and influenza.
No, I should have pulled up that site and if you, there is a site from Ohio Department of Health that you can see the whole state. So, I mean, we participate in grabbing samples for them twice a week and them analyzing it, but there's actually a map. We just had a meeting last week and you can go around the state and see what the different levels of things are. And obviously ours, as you've seen, what I sent you guys a week or so ago, ours has escalated up.
I just saw in Kansas City, they have had tuberculosis, greater numbers since 1950.
Really?
Yeah, that's a huge thing going on. I think city of that.
Since we're live streaming, you free to say your name, your department, and give us a little mini bio about your goat farm and anything else.
Goats, sheep, cattle, all of that. Okay. Well, I'm Jeff Pickrell, the director for water and wastewater. Actually, since we're doing that, I'll just hop down here. We provide sewer at Apple Valley and Millwood, also at Pleasant View Acres. We have a small package plant that we just started up last year. And we also provide sewer at Bladensburg. And then our water services are strictly around the Apple Valley area in Howard. So,
Did you mention Centerburg in that discussion?
oh, okay, yeah, we have a small little area in Centerburg that we sewer also. We have a pump station there, and there's what, Jason, 20.
What did you tell us? 30.
Yeah, 30 some customers over there. To take the commissioners too. Okay, so yeah, Centerburg bills them, collects all the funds, and then we are supposed to be getting reimbursed for our costs. But there is an outdated agreement that you all will need to do at some point in time. So we're working on it.
Yeah, what, 3 years now working on that?
Yeah, it's been 3 years since I've
Well,
been-
we haven't been working on, I've been working on
Right.
it for 6 months.
but yes, there's
Yes,
yeah.
we're waiting for Pittsburgh to get some.
correct. So,
Well, thank you for
Okay.
coming and sharing with us.
so, you're going to see normally mine are, this little colored sheet that
Got it up there, Jim, for it.
oh, okay, all right. Just so you know, colors, green means sewer, blue means water. That's universal wherever. If you see locates out or whatever, you're going to see those colors. You may see those as you're out and about as they do locates and stuff. So we kind of went down through priority wise in there, one being what we need to get done this year, two, probably try to get to, threes obviously are some things that we would like to get done. This is kind of a hodgepodge. We use this for my two managers that I have and myself, so we can keep track and make sure that we're staying on track of accomplishing goals that we've came up with. I've come up with, they've come up with, we've come up with as a group. So we'll get down through it rather quickly. You guys are new. We have been in the process of rehabbing this Northridge pump station. A lot of these pump stations are getting old. They're seeing the end of their life. Many of them have been underwater, which means underwater, the controls, the pumps, the motors, all that stuff have been underwater at some point in time in their life. You start to get corrosion, and things just wear out. As we all get older, we wear out, they wear out. So
Jeff, maybe tell them what the pump stations
Does?
in our-
Oh, okay.
our system.
okay, so we have a series. There is 20 some pump stations out there. They push sewage water from point A to point B. So there's a lot of different topography out there in Apple Valley, in Millwood, down through the campgrounds and everything, transporting the sewage back to our main wastewater plant, which is Little Jello Way. So the sewage gravity flows into there and then is pumped up to a different point or a different location or whatever. So there's usually a series of 2 pumps in those. Control panel, telemetry, what we call telemetry. We can monitor them every day. We know how many hours they run each day. We know if we have a problem. High level, they call somebody on call. Power outages. All of our pump stations, I can pretty much say that the majority of our pump stations have backup power generator, either diesel or natural gas. And you're going to see on my list in there, you'll see doing load banks and stuff. Some of the stuff that we have to do is preventive maintenance each year on the O&M stuff. So yeah, there's quite a few. Then we also have grinder systems, and that's the thing that we tie up an awful lot of our maintenance time with. They're traditionally down around the lake, so the properties down there are below grade of the sewer, so they can't just flow freely. So their sewage flows into a grinder station, and then we pump those back up to our main system. So there's what we come up with. I think there's like 250 of those. Grinder stations. Yes. Yeah, unfortunately. So those were things that were put in years and years ago. Probably some opportunities there to eliminate some. And we have done some of that where the plans call for a grinder station. We've been able to extend a smaller pipe over and get a house on that. Saves the customer several thousands of dollars in installing that grinder station. It saves us several thousands of dollars over the lifetime of maintaining them. So just a single pump in there is over $2,000 now. So just one little pump and one little grinder station. As we know, everything has went up in costs. So yeah, unfortunately.
Well, and it's electric to all those stations too.
Correct, but well, all the grinder stations, the power comes off of the house, and we do give them a small credit on their bill for using their electric to pump their sewage up. Yeah, that was established years ago. So
Are these obvious in sight? You know what I mean? Are they big?
no, they're pretty small, 3 foot in diameter. They're in the ground. The control panel or the control box is above ground. We have a concrete or a steel pad with a little control panel on the top, but everything else is underground. But they're there. I mean,
Yeah.
Unfortunately, they're there. So yes, you can see them. And obviously, you don't like to look at those when you're looking out to look at the lake, but they're there for them. Normally 2 houses. Sometimes there's only 1 house, depending on what's developed. There's usually designated 2 houses or 2 lots to go to a single grinder can. So no more than 2. All right, hopping back, this Northridge pump station we've been working on for a while. Weather obviously has been horrible, so we haven't been able to do. We have all the pieces and parts which we've had here for a little bit. Just need to get the appropriate weather where it's not pouring down rain, because we're looking at about a week being down with that pump station that will be bypass pumping. We have a portable bypass pump that we purchased a few years ago, diesel generated or diesel operated, that we can bypass a large portion of these pump stations. We pump out of before them, and we can isolate them and do our work and then get them back online. So
So would that diesel engine run 24/7 then when it's out there?
yes, well, it depends on what the weather's going to be. If it's going to be cold, yes, we can set it up in multitude of ways. It has float systems where it will come up and it'll start up and run and pump down, shut back off again. You can also set it up to where it would run, it will ramp up, be at an idle pace, and ramp up as as the sewage flow would pick up during the day. So all kind of depends. We don't want it to freeze, obviously. So if we're doing this and it's still chances of that, we'll probably be running it in that kind of a mode. So we're going down through calibrate flow meters. That's something that we're required to do from Ohio EPA every year, that we have to have a certificate on each one of our flow meters from all of our treatment plants, from a certified meter calibrating company. We go down to CCTV, and I know that may not mean that's our abbreviation. We have a camera that we can put in the sewer and go and inspect the sewer lines, our main sewer lines. We call it I&I, inflow and infiltration. It's the big thing that everybody's got across the nation, leaking pipes, water leaking into them, and us treating surface and or groundwater into our sewer. So you try to eliminate as much as you possibly can. You're never going to eliminate it all, but so the managers have went down through, and you'll see underneath there, Harborview, Northridge, Grandview, Baldwin, Lake Line, Sewer, Hillside, and then PVA Gravity is up 1 again, because we have some issues out there after this new plant that we need to address to cut down on the flow there. But so they've labeled those, prioritized those as 1 through 5. So Harborview and Northridge is the one that they've identified those subdivisions as the one we need to go after first. So as we start to get some rain, we get some thawing, the guys will be taking these cameras out. We have a video. They'll be able to document exactly where we see a broken line, leaking line, somebody's lateral leaking. We can also kind of determine if they've got sump pumps tied into there. You'll see the water kick on and then shut back off again. So those are all things that we're not supposed to have in our sewer system. So we'll
Those sump pumps out of shouldn't be going into the.
correct. And there is a resolution stating that the EPA required us to do that years ago, but that's one of the things that's clean water source is not supposed to be.
Stormwater, not to the
Right.
sewer.
Unfortunately, some of the topography, people tie them into their drain in their basement. So,
Yeah.
they have a sump pump in their basement, and it pumps into the sewer line because that's the convenient part. We see downspouts and stuff too. So they're hard to identify, but they're there. And they're a huge source of flow. And just to give you a quick little background, we're averaging about 400,000 gallons a day of sewage going through our treatment plant. The last rain event we had, we were up over 1 million gallons a day. That's pretty substantial. Yeah, see, just in that.
We're getting a lot of.
So that tells you we're getting a lot of, and what that does, we talk about these pump stations, there may be multiple pump stations that pump that same gallon of water to get it back to the plant in Howard. That's power, it's energy, it's cost. Okay, so we just keep going and going besides what we have to do once we get to the treatment plant. So that's the reason
Amazing that rain affects it
that much.
so much.
Yeah, exactly.
It's under double, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
So that means we have old lines that groundwater's penetrating through the line, right?
We have homeowners laterals that from their house to our main that may be leaking also. We have sump pumps, downspouts. I mean, those are all those little things. We may have manholes that go underwater, so the lid may leak. I mean, those are things, and we send the guys out all the time, and we find a few here and there that one's sitting in the ditch somewhere, and the water upstream is, from the manhole is barely flowing, and when we go down one, you know, there's 50 gallons a minute going down through there. And he's like, aha, that manhole's probably leaking. And we start getting in there and looking, and yeah, it is. And we've rehabbed, and that's our I&I. That's what we determine as I&I, and that's that extra water coming to each one of them pump stations and to the treatment plant that we have to deal with. And it's our permit limit, our plant is designed off of 900,000. So that just tells you that a lot of times we may end up bumping over the 900. That's what it was designed for. We still treat, we're still well within compliance, but you start to push things as you start to get to that point. So
I have maybe a really ignorant question, but once it's gone to the grinder, it goes back to the plant. What happens to it then?
goes through a treatment process, which I believe Jason's going to bring you all out to at some point in time. And,
Yeah.
Penny likes to go there, so make sure that she wants to come with you. Right, Penny?
Before we go.
So, yeah, so it's an afternoon thing that you should do, yes. But, yeah, it's in it. And all it is it's Mother Nature speeding it up, because Mother Nature would treat that waste otherwise, but it's just we're speeding the process up to get it so we can discharge it back out into the river. So it's basically drinkable. I make that comment. Nobody's asked me to drink it yet, but it's basically
I was going to.
it's basically drinkable. We do UV disinfection at the end of the plant, so everything is killed when it hits the stream. So and we're required to do that.
You've got a main line that runs under the lake, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Under the lake.
Yeah, part of the gravity. Yeah, they had a problem before I got here. So this is like 10 or 11 years ago, something like that it leaked. They had to do some bypass pumping and reline that line. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Does that just run basically the homes that are on one side of the lake?
Yeah, but it just kind of dissects. It's not like directly across the lake. So yes. It's not abnormal. Place I came from was they had a force main, so it was under pressure that was underneath Buckeye Lake. So
Yeah, I'm sitting here when you said that, and I'm thinking million gallons, how much of that's coming under the lake?
yeah, no, I mean, when the lake drops, our flows drop. So we know that some of our sewers around the lake, close to the lake, are part of the area. And that's why if you see on there and you see one of them that says, lake line sewer, that's we know we've done some repairs there and made a significant difference. We probably dropped our flows about 200,000 from some repairs we did 5 or 6 years ago. But yeah, there's still issues, and there will always be issues. There is nobody that'll, because even on a new line construction, there's allowed a small amount of leakage in a brand new line installed. So. Clearing right of ways, one of the things that they're going to start getting on here now that we're still frozen. We bought a new piece of equipment for our skid steer and to go in so that we can start finding some of these lot lines. It's really difficult when we're trying to get new construction and trying to find and line up manholes to get so they know where the sewer lines are at, where they can go connect. And so we're going to start clearing some of those, which should make everybody happy. I would assume they're going to get some of those lots, somewhat clean that aren't being maintained right now.
In this past year, didn't you have like close to 80 new homes?
Yeah, we had about 80, some fairly close to about 80 new home construction this past year. So they've had more in the past, but it's probably the most. I've been here 8.5 years. It's probably the most we've had so far this past year.
Got hooked onto our sewer system.
Got hooked onto our sewer system, correct? Just our little area, yes. And that was all at the Apple Valley area. That wasn't any new homes in Pleasant View Acres, Bladensburg, or Millwood. That was all around by the lake in the lake subdivision.
At some point, then they're gonna have to reach saturation, aren't they, in building out there?
Yeah, they incorporate themselves and get us off the hook.
Yeah.
There's still quite a few lots out there. There's lots that were deemed non-buildable that are now being built on. So okay, I just sent a letter out yesterday on a particular lot that was deemed non-buildable at some point in time by some engineer that we do have water and sewer available. So the people are wanting to sell it, and so I sent them a letter saying there's water and sewer there. So I guess you can build on it. And they're building some houses. I meant to send him a picture. They're building some houses in some very questionable places, but
That
yes.
you're not gonna Washington Lake, right?
I don't know. I'm very cautious about me saying, we said non-buildable, and I'm just saying there's water and sewer available, okay? That's as far as I'm going to go. We have 3 digesters out there that we process all of it. So our solids from our treatment plant go to digesters, help break it down a little bit more before we run it through a centrifuge, make it into a cake, and that cake goes to a landfill. So these digesters periodically need to be cleaned out. It's something we haven't done for 2 or 3 years. We get sand and grit stuff coming in that ends up selling out in there. So those are on that list of cleaning. They're at a lower priority, but still need to be done. We had a couple pump stations that we've projected for this year as our capital improvements projects, rehabbing Floral Valley Pump Station and Hillside. Hillside's one that has sewage is really close to the lake right there. It's in a very precarious position. It always makes me nervous. It's right next to the dam. So we want to make sure it's been underwater too at a point in time. So we want to make sure that those things are as good of operation as they possibly can be. So they're on our list to do this year as we go through. We have some valves and check valve stuff at the booster station that's kind of a wannabe and kind of depends on how budgetary things go. No unexpected things. There's some things that we'll do later on at the end of the year. So you won't see much progress in some of those as we go through each month. But towards the end, as funds allow it, then we'll start hopping on some of those things that are maybe a little lower priority. We see clean number 2 well. We clean a well every year to keep them as maximum production as we can. Number 2 well was the well up this year. So we will start getting quotes for that and do later on this spring or summer. It's kind of difficult to do because they actually take the roof off the building and everything to get in there. So we can't do that during the wintertime months.
What's it typically cost us if you were to clean a well?
We're in that, it just kind of depends. We're somewhere between 17 and 25,000, depends on the well depth and size and all that. So somewhere along in there, but we're maintaining our production down there. So we haven't lost basically any production. And if you keep on this rotation, you keep all the calcium and stuff that builds up in the well as it's coming through the veins, you keep that all cleaned out. They actually acid wash that. They actually pump acid out in there, pump all the acid back, clean it all out, kind of eats the lime and scale and stuff away, just like you would do in your bathtub or whatever, and keeps our production up then. So we actually had a well that had been out for 20 years. We did it and brought it back to probably better than it ever been. And so we're just trying to stay on top of them. Those are preventive maintenance things that they cost some money, but in the long run, they're going to pay for it because you're going to get your return by keeping your production up and not going through and having to draw another new well. So
and last year we put the fence up to help protect the well area.
Help protect the well area. One of the things we'll be doing this year is wellhead protection plan, updating that to have an outside firm come in and make sure that we've got all of our ducks in a row about protecting our water source. There's an awful lot of people. We have around 3,500 customers and connections in Apple Valley. So if you add that for water, so you slap that into times 4, that's quite a few people that we're providing.
So what you might tell the commissioners water that we're pumping a day? From the
We're
side on the water.
right on the water side. We're in the 400,000s. We've drastically made a reduction. We put new water meters in a few years ago, which helped capture some of the loss that we had. We were in the 60-some% water loss. So 60-some% of our water that we produced, it was unaccountable. So we're down into we have months that we're in the 20-some%. We're traditionally in that 30%. 32%, somewhere along in there. The other thing with putting these new meters in, and we're dealing with it right now, all this cold weather, they're frozen meters. We have frozen houses, and unfortunately, we've had more than one that are pretty devastated. These meters pick up continuous usage, so we have a continuous usage report that we do every morning and send out to the guys, and we're having 25 or 30 a day right now with all this, and people's spigots are frozen on the outside. There was a house that there's ice hanging on their sliding glass door. There was a house that one of my guys went to, the water was running out the upstairs. Unfortunately.
There's a fair amount of customers out there that
Are occupied.
That are not-
Winter occupied.
Yep, winter, they're not there in the winter time and they don't have anybody check in and, you know, they don't shut the water off and the heat goes out or whatever. And this is what we end up with. So that's one of the services that we've done with this new water or with the new meters that we stuck in, what, 3 years or so ago, Jason, wasn't the
Yeah.
meter project was one of the things that we can benefit by giving to our customers. We know how much water, we can tell them when they started using their water. We monitor it, it'll give us a report and I can tell every hour how much water you use. Okay, so if you come in and your bill was high, we can say, well, hey, on September 10th, you know, from 10 to 5, you used X amount of water. And you say, oh yeah, we had a party and the kids were doing a slip and slide and we did this and somebody left the hose on. So we can kind of tell you when you use. So we will see that. So every day, Monday through Friday, fortunately or unfortunately, we do get that report. So then the ladies in the office send it out to the plant and somebody goes and investigates what's going on. Sometimes it's just a leaking toilet. Sometimes it's a few hundred gallons in a day. Sometimes it's pretty significant. We had a house several years ago. What was it? 500,000 or 600,000 gallons of water because we only physically read the meters once a month or used to. Okay. So we didn't catch it until it was billing time. This had been leaking for a really, really long time. So yeah, that's where
It was like 4,000 to 7,000 hours.
yeah, it was a pretty significant water bill that, you know, we kind of worked with him on because that's pretty significant to anybody to try to pay. So we did work with him on that, but he did use that much water. So hopefully with these new meters now we're monitoring it a little bit quicker and we're getting to it and hopefully maybe eliminate some of the devastation because like I say, that one house, the drywall, the lights are fell out of it and everything. It's that bad, but it just so happened that it started and so it didn't get caught for a couple of days just because of the way that it was set up because it was a weekend. So
Yeah, and while, since we're talking meters, it's talk about if we need to shut the water off, it's illegal for the tenant to turn the water on their own.
that is correct. That is correct. They are not allowed to turn their water back on, even if they have paid. Our policy is, just so you all know, because it makes it difficult, we tried it before, is that we shut waters off on one day and we turn waters back on the next day of the people who have paid. Okay, so they could be without water for 24 hours, but
Or 3 days, Saturday and Sunday.
no, because we are very cautious about when we turn water off. I'm very cognizant of that. So it's
Don't do it around holiday.
we don't do it around holidays. So bills are due on the 20th. Okay. So normally on the 21st is the day we shut water off. But if the 21st happens to be a Friday, I'm not going to do it on Friday because then they're going to be off until Monday. So we are very cautious about that to make sure that normally they have a couple days from the time we shut them off to get them paid, to get them turned back on. Some people can't afford it or have to need to find the funds, or sometimes they're not even there and they weren't aware of it. So we're very cautious about that. We didn't do it because things didn't fall right in December. So unfortunately, we did it here in January, which was probably not the best of times, but we'd already been 2 months, 3 months behind in bills. So now they've got to scrape up a considerable amount of money to pay because they have to pay in full with a credit card or with cash, so they don't bounce the check to me. So they're getting shut off on one day, turned on the next. Yes, you're not, even if you think you've paid your water bill or whatever, you're not allowed to be getting in there, turning the water on. Some of the people that have done that in the past, we apply locks to. And unfortunately, that's apparently didn't deter somebody either. So yeah, we're taking the next steps. So unfortunately, so yeah, it is a misdemeanor to mess with that. It's a federal offense to mess with, water hydrant, water tower. Those go to jail, big people jail for a long while. So ever since 9/11. So the laws have changed. So yeah, please don't mess with your water meters. If I shut your water off, you're just not gonna have water for today.
And to get their water shut off, it is.
It is.
over 2 months.
It is over 2 months, yes. So if you didn't pay your bill in January, the bill that you get your late fees put on there, we go to February and you don't pay your bill. Now you're 2 months behind in your bill, but when we read it, you're almost 3 months behind in your usage. Okay, because it's from the 19th of one month to the 20th of the next month kind of thing. So you're always in arrears anyway. So you're in arrears. If you were to leave today, you would still owe us for water that you've already used that we've not billed you for yet. So yes, so we don't, it's not, we're turning it off the first month. We're not that cruel or heartless or anything, but at some point in time, we need to be able to collect our funds. I already told you what expenses and how expensive we have to pay the bill. So. Let's slip down through here. There's still some things that we need to do on the SBRs up there, which you'll understand what those are when you go take a tour. PVA, we're basically done out there. We filled in our lagoons out there just to educate you guys. The plant is closed. We filled in the lagoons. There's some settling, and we've got some more dirt that we need to bring in to get the topography right, to get the water so it's not collecting in there and it's actually, you know, just slowly running off and away. So we still have a little bit of work that's going to stay on our list there. Booster number 2 has been off for quite some time. We're still on the contractor. We're putting a VFD, which is a varying frequency drive on there, which will ramp the pump up and slow the pump down so that you don't get water hammer in your system. We're working on that. Hopefully it's going to get done here rather soon. Generators listed on there just for our purposes. Diesel generators need to be load banked. We actually pay a company to come in, normally a company that sells generators. They come in and they hook a mechanism up to it for a lesser term and pull full load on those generators to make sure that they are capable of producing the electric that we need them to produce. So we do that every year on our diesels, every 5 years on natural gas. So there's some additional costs. We use some ARPA money to put in generators, but now I have some O&M costs now. You know, it was great to use that money and be able to put those out there. Kind of cuts down on response time and keeping power at our pump stations, whether it's boosters or the well field or these sewer pump stations. But we have a fair amount of O&M in there doing those load banks every
And I appreciate you mentioning that because after Todd and I talked, we realized we maintain our generators, but we haven't load bank tested.
right.
So
And that was yeah.
we're getting all of ours load bank tested this year as well.
Yeah.
To make sure that they can.
I brought it up to Todd. We had talked about it. I mean, it's just something that we do, and it was the companies that recommended that you do that, because if you don't, you'll end up needing that. You'll need that generator at full load and full power at some point in time, and it won't work. So unfortunately, so. We've got CCTV, the effluent line at PVA. You all weren't here except Bill. We had some issues during construction for the effluent line. So we will go back and review and make sure that that line is still like it's supposed to be before the warranty runs out there from the contractor. So that's on our schedule. We will not forget it. That's why it's on here. And we'll be going out to do that just to make sure. Septic tanks at Bladensburg, that system only treats what we call gray water, which is the effluent out of a septic tank. So we have a bunch of septic tanks that we own as a county and maintain out there. So this is the year that they'll go around, they'll check those septic tanks, determine how much solids is in there. Do we need to pump particular ones? There's quite a few out there. We have some large ones that are grouped. But then there's also several individual ones out there that we have to maintain. So that's on their list, and that's things that they'll be doing this year. Changing oil in the generators, it's something that we chose to start doing. We've set up one of our guys in a trailer and trying to save some money. So do it internally as opposed to paying it externally to a generator company to come in and do it. So and then last on that list is we're going to make a little modification. Doesn't mean much to you guys, but it helps in our sludge holding tank at PVA. Is we're going to change our backwash from our filters out there, design one way. You know what? After you get operating things, you start to make a little tweaks, and so we're gonna make a little tweak on that. It'll reduce kind of our amount of sludge that we're producing out there.
Does someone go out to PVA every day?
Every day. Yeah, we go to
Saturday and Sunday?
No,
Just
Saturday. No, we're not required to. So no, it kind of, and back again, it's got telemetry on it too. So, you know, what it'll cost if we have a high level in a particular tank or something quits working, generators running, power's off. We get a notification that the power's off. We get a notification if the transfer switches switch to auxiliary power. So all of that stuff we can monitor. I don't have my phone, but on our phones. So the three managers, the two under me and myself get all of that stuff 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So we kind of know, and we can log on from our computers, iPads, or our phones from home and be able to monitor and see all that stuff also.
And how frequently do we have to be at Centerburg, Bladensburg and Gander?
Bladensburg, we go every day. PBA, we go every day. Centerburg, we go out once a month unless there happens to be a locate out there or something. Back again, we've got telemetry on there and we can see when those pumps are running. If we see a discrepancy in the pump run times, then somebody goes out, takes a look. You know, there might be some trash buildup, oil and grease on the top that messes up the float systems or whatever. So, but we don't go out. It's a long ways away. I mean, it's a trek to get from Howard to Centerburg. So that's,
Then Gander, or
we don't do anything in Gander.
I think I know what a septic system is. Instead of sewer lines, you have septic tanks out there, is that?
Well, we have both. It's both. So we have a septic tank that catches the solids, and then what we call the gray water. So the water off of that then goes into smaller diameter lines and goes to a treatment plant out there. So there is a treatment plant out there. So it's called a recirculation treatment plant. So it recirculates multiple times. That sewer goes through that multiple times before it's actually discharged.
And especially out at Bladensburg, that was an EPA thing that we had to deal with, which was before your time.
Correct. Yes. Yeah. That was a lot of failing septic systems out there, and the EPA was pushing to do that. So yes. So that's why it
Thank you.
got where it got. Let me look. We were talking about Little Jellaway, just to give you an update. We did get our new permit finally for Little Jellaway. It's effective February 1st, which is here in a couple of days, and goes through January 31st, 2030. So each of the permits are 5 years. So we've got that done and out of the road for a while. So we're legal to discharge as long as we stay within our permit limits.
Then when you say Little Jellaway, it's not up in Jellaway, Ohio.
Correct. It's at Howard. So it's Howard's treatment plant, discharges into Little Jellaway. That's the reason why it's called that. So yes, not to
Yes, yeah.
not to confuse you. Yes, exactly.
I know about this.
And then I think last but not least, we do have our annual rate increase coming up, March, for the bills due in March. We've done this for many, many years. This is the final year of this resolution that was passed back in December of 22. So it will be a $2 increase on both water and sewer on their minimum bills. So that, and Jason, Jason and I have looked at it a little bit already, and so it's something that we'll probably be bringing back to you later on this year to look at what we need to do for the future.
We had done a 5-year basically rate plan where it went up $1, $2, whatever, each year over the 5-year period. So this is the last year. So we're doing some analysis, and we'll have some recommendations for you to look at as we get later in the year.
Other than that, I know I seen that Courtney had talked about some of the stuff that they're doing. One of the things that they're providing for us is CPR and AED training next week. So all of my staff will be going either next Wednesday or Thursday for that. It kind of hits home just a little bit. I had one of the ladies in my office when we did it a few years ago really buck me about it. And it was just a few days later, her husband had a massive heart attack and she saved his life. So it's well worth it. Well worth it. So
Did you have someone leave? Because I noticed
yeah, we have an open position. Young man ended up moving to Florida. Yeah. So he decided he was done with snow. So I asked him if when he gets down there, if there's anything open. Hey, I'd like to move to Florida too. So no, it's nice to visit, but yeah. So yes,
Thank you, Jeff.
yep, that is it.
Jeff, we're very lucky to have Jeff leading that department. It's does an excellent.
Yeah,
job.
my staff does a really good job. It's the guys out there. They're the ones that deal with the, we probably had 20 frozen water meters. It's been rough this week. Those guys done a really good job. So
It'd be cool.
yeah, unfortunately. So hopefully we
Thank you.
get into that. All right, thank you guys.
We'll get out to see you, sir.
Yes.
Wait till it's warmer.
Yeah.
See if there's any floating cats out there.
You're gonna, the joys of being a commissioner.
Yep, screen room,
Yeah.
you're just going to see. Right?
We took Penny, she enjoyed it.
Hey,
Any words, Barry?
No.
yeah, her words, her words are, don't go to the screen room, right?
You're still queen.
She's still thinking about that.
Yeah,
All right, so you guys.
Thank you, Jeff.
All right, just a couple of quick things that I have for you and update. We don't have any resolutions to sign contracts or anything today. Just a couple quick updates. Laura had mentioned when she was in about the 911 state would be in to do an audit of our center. And everything went well, and we received a letter that they're in full compliance for 2025. So we're good to go down there. And Kiwanis, we do have that set up for the state of the county. That's gonna be at April 14th. So they have everything in March. So then you'll have that on the calendar, and I'll begin to work on the presentation and get something to you to review. But that gives us a little time to get stuff.
Does Kiwanis still meet every week or they once a
I
month?
think it's twice a month. It's every other Monday now. It's every Monday. So those are the only two items I have for you today. Any stuff?
No, the three of us went to the Knox County Advisory, OSU Advisory meeting last night. And that was always an enjoyable meal, good fellowship. Did you have it, well, you went to the Visitors Bureau yesterday too. Anything there you would like to share?
Just a discussion about the building and future of that building as far as their location. As a Chamber of Commerce moved, there's some discussion about their future as well, and where they may or may not be located. So that seemed to be the biggest concern everybody had there. And a discussion about parks possibly. that can
Yes, the Knox County Parks.
Yeah, just maybe it's one person or it may be two, several, so just conversations about that. Nothing's decided. They're just trying to figure that out.
I don't have anything that's. I mean, there's always stuff, but.
And there's experience Mount Vernon on Friday, right? Friday tomorrow morning.
Is that some?
Yeah, I think so. Tomorrow morning. I have to go look at it.
Out on there, is well, experience conference, that's not a commissioner.
Oh, it's not?
No.
How did I end up with that?
No, they may
They
invite
might
you.
They
invite
made
you.
so.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, if we don't have any other things to share. I will take a motion for adjournment.
I make a motion.
Second.
Okay, we stand adjourned. Thank you. Have a good weekend.